It's been no secret that a lot is riding on the success of the Fantastic Four reboot as it pertains to the future of the MCU. More than any other movie they've released recently, I strongly believe that Marvel Studios wants this movie to be looked at as the fresh start that the franchise desperately needs. Which makes it all the more questionable that the film's director keeps saying things that make me want to watch it even less than I already did. Let's discuss.
Our content sucks. Our content sucks.
I watch so you don't have to.
All I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
So I'm going to be completely honest. I don't know a whole hell of a lot about Fantastic Four First Step director Matt Shankman. One glance at his IMDb resume tells me that he is a TV director that Marvel is giving a chance at the big time after his work on WandaVision.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
Now, regardless of what you may personally think of WandaVision overall, I believe that it was a great concept that was completely undermined by typical Marvel bullshit. Most notably building up Evan Peters' return as Quicksilver, only to use him for a boner joke at the end of the series. Now, I don't know what episodes of WandaVision Matt directed specifically, but any involvement with WandaVision whatsoever doesn't give me a ton of hope that Fantastic Four First Steps is going to live up to its potential either. And then on top of that, you have his comments this week in regards to his reasoning why he cast Pedro Pascal as Reed Richards in the reboot. I think a lot of people would like to know what the thought process was behind that decision, because on paper, it does seem like a miscast. Well, Matt clarified by saying, quote, "I was looking for an actor who could contain multitudes. There's the very cerebral Reed Richards, and then there's the action hero, the leader, the husband, the father, the friend, and I know Pedro could do all of that." Now I want to start this off by saying I'm in no way questioning Pedro Pascal's acting abilities. I'm not even questioning his versatility as an actor, which Matt alludes to as the reasoning behind the casting decision. But I can't stress this enough. Even good or great actors have been miscast in roles in the past.
It's true.
I mean, Mark Ruffalo is a capable actor, but I still think he sucks as the Incredible Hulk. Granted, most of that has to do with the material that he has to work with failing him. But to my point, there very well could be similar issues happening with the Fantastic Four movie, and more on that in a moment. I think the biggest problem with Pedro Pascal in this role is that he just doesn't give off Reed Richards vibes. And I think a lot of people are starting to feel the effects of Pedro Pascal fatigue. Because at some point along the way, Hollywood got it in their mind that he was going to be the it guy of the moment. So now they're just kind of shoehorning him into everything and giving him roles that he's not necessarily right for.
Stop it!
As my good friend Rhea put it in a recent comment she left on one of my posts, if he turns heel like I have a suspicion he might in the movie, I could get on board. And to me, that might be legitimately the only thing that could save this decision. If by the end of this movie he is replaced by the real Reed Richards, a multiverse variant perhaps, similar to what might be happening with Robert Downey Jr.'s Dr. Doom, then I think in that situation all will be forgiven. But as it stands right now, I think Pedro is a hard sell for a lot of people in that role, and it could have a negative impact on the way that people view this film. And I'm certain that there are many versatile actors in Hollywood that could have easily fit into this role a bit more accurately. But Fantastic Four First Steps director Matt Shankman wasn't done. When describing Reed's other half, Sue Storm, to Empire this week, he had this to say about the character: the inspiring, idealistic leader of what the Fantastic Four represents. She's essentially the Secretary General of the UN. Yes, Queen! Now listen, I'm never going to be upset about seeing Vanessa Kirby in any film. In fact, of all of the new Fantastic Four members, she was the only one I wasn't questioning when it came to the casting. But I'm having a difficult time wrapping my head around this idea that she is the leader of what the Fantastic Four is supposed to represent. Listen, I'm all for fresh interpretations, but doesn't this seem to undermine Reed's significance as the leader of the group that I thought he was? I mean, he's literally named Mr. Fantastic. Now, I'm on board with them giving Sue Storm a bit more to do from a character perspective, and increasing her significance in a live-action adaptation like we haven't seen up until this point. But I don't believe that it should come at the detriment of other people in the group, specifically Reed Richards.
That makes sense.
Just the way that he worded this description sets up a whole bunch of other red flags that honestly this film does not need. It should also be noted that the movie had a round of test screenings recently, and the reactions I think were quite telling. Some of the positives being, Galactus is described as terrifying and the best part of the movie. Yeah, they said the same thing about Kang the Conqueror in Quantumania, and he got taken out in the end of that movie by Ant-Man and an army of giant ants. So let's hope Galactus's introduction into the MCU goes a little bit better. Other positive reactions say the film's plot feels very Lovecraftian, with a cosmic horror angle that gives it a lot of personality. Now, a cosmic horror angle sounds great on paper, but if there's one thing that the MCU movies have lacked over the last several years, it's a unique personality.
Why?
Also, on a personal note, every time someone compares something new to Lovecraft, it always sounds desperate to me. As if the mere mention of Lovecraft in your reaction is going to make this movie feel more legitimate. The problem is that the rest of us hear those comparisons, and then when we actually watch the movie, it doesn't live up to those expectations. Comparisons to past beloved media does not always have the impact that you think it does. Because more often than not, what it actually does is set up unreal expectations in some people's heads, and that's how we end up with disappointment. And then we have the negatives from this test screening, with most of the unfortunate criticisms revolving around viewers feeling like the characters lack development. Which brings me back full circle to what I was saying before. See, I told you I would get back to it. That being, it does not matter how talented your actors are. If they aren't given the right material to work with, it will all be for nothing. It is very rare that an actor is so good that he or she is able to elevate the material beyond where it is. And if we're being honest with ourselves, Marvel does have a history of presenting characters to us that feel underdeveloped.
You didn't see that coming.
Now, I'm not saying that everyone has to have the character development that Tony Stark or Steve Rogers did. But when we're talking about the Fantastic Four, the team that is supposed to lead this franchise into its next phase, you would think that the Brain Trust would put a little bit more time and effort into developing these very important characters, especially if they are trying to change the perception of the Fantastic Four after many failed attempts to bring them to the big screen in a satisfying way.
Y'all be cool. Right on.